look at the slides themselves, very limited at the minute, not particularly creative. She's explained what persuasion is, she's talked, and then underneath, to be fair, underneath, I mean, it starts to go off a little bit. This doesn't make sense really. So she's talking about persuasion, she explains what persuasion is, and she's talking about emotions and how emotions is a state of mind. And she then uses a kind of tenuous example of nostalgia, and she talks about CDs, vinyls are outselling CDs, or they've had some sort of comeback. She explains that. And I'm not really sure about this ethics and integrity, and she's talking a little bit, it's a bit of this. Here's an example of why this work is bad. She's explained, this is what I was saying to you last week, and Liz will have been saying to you. This is the very lowest kind of thing you can do. There are 5 consumption values. So if you remember back about 3 seminars ago, we looked at the sheath paper, functional, conditional, epistemic, emotional. And all she does is list them. Well, I could have found that myself by looking at the paper. That gets her no marks whatsoever. Or it might get her a couple of marks for identifying the paper. But we expect that. We want you to analyse the concepts. And even so, I wouldn't have dedicated a slide to that. Then she's doing persuasion, and she's looked at the toothpaste Oral-B. And this, again, the slides are just so uncreative, they're just so limited. But the explanations underneath are okay, actually. They are okay. So she's going back to the sheath paper. This suggests to me that she's got limited knowledge. She keeps referring back to the same concepts. She's talking about social, epistemic. Now, I wouldn't have even given one slide to that. I'd have brought those concepts in. I'd have just occasionally dropped them in. I wouldn't have dedicated a whole slide. There's more going on in these adverts than that. But yeah, so at the minute, that underneath is okay. The writing's underneath. I think because I've got it off Blackboard, some of the images and videos have disappeared now, but these wouldn't have been blank square, these would have been images. Then she's talking about social influence, and we're going to have a look at that this week. She's talking about persuasion tactics, and then she's going into a little bit of storytelling. Again, it's not really academically underpinned. I assume she's used some water aid campaign, and then she's talking about associations that people have with brands, positive or negative. And this self-generated persuasion is okay. That bit's okay, just needed a bit of academic underpinning, which is applying it quite good, so that's okay. Then again, look at the slide. I mean, you could have thrown this together in 5 minutes. The slide is just really limited. It's just got the brand on it. It's got nothing about, I need to see other images, public relations, I need to see videos. She's explained the brand, what the brand is, how it won an award, something to do with Rihanna. Not quite sure the relevance here at the minute. The beauty brand uses a range of strategies, uses celebrity influence, and we look at that in this week's lecture, so have a look at that. But again, there's no real underpinning theory. I mean, she's just using, that is a crime in my book. She's used something called Nikki Tutorials 2020. It's just garbage. What is it? I don't even know what it is. Something, it might be okay at her. It's on secondary information. I don't want to see that sort of thing like Wikipedia or Nikki or Tutor to You. Move away from that sort of thing. It's just too descriptive, guys. She's explaining that some celebrities influence some people. Rihanna's this super big celebrity. She appeared at the Super Bowl, but so what is the concept? You're explaining Rihanna, but what is the concept behind it? So it needed more than that. Okay, now we move on to fear. I actually quite like that image, but again, what's the relevant? Where's the brand? What brand is it related to? So again, she's talking about what fear is. She's defined it. Okay, not too bad. Fear is a persuasive technique. Okay, there's different levels of fear appeal. Yeah, okay. That underneath, that's okay, but it's all very descriptive, but it's okay. Then she's picked some sort of some skin cancer campaign. I assume it's to do with suntan lotions or not using it. She's picked, again, that could have been quite good. Those images are quite good. Could she have found some more? Could she have arrows coming off it, explaining what's going on in the adverts? She talked about the use of fear. Again, though, some good secondary data here, actually, and she's using the right relevant sources. It's an Australian cancer campaign. Again, no, it's just no theory behind it, guys. Some okay secondary research to say how successful the campaign was, or the problem with skin cancer in Australia, but not enough behind it for me. And then she, again, random, where are the brands, where are the campaigns? She's then jumped to more emotions in marketing. She's explained what emotions are. but only tenuously. There's no critical analysis, folks. It's just giving me straightforward explanations. There's no depth, there's no evaluation. Then again, I assume that this was an advert. I think it's a Fiat, the car brand Fiat. I think she looked at that and she looked at happiness, and we're going to do this in week 10 with Liz. Look at happiness, and she talked a little bit about how the advert generates some sort of happiness. She's now starting to talk about the message and the music. And again, it's very basic. It's just okay. She's dropping the odd little bit of theory in, but she's not. It's just identification. It's just all very simplistic description identification. Then she moves on to this idea, guys, that we use brands to give off clues about who we are, the concept of self, and that should have been so much better. And actually, that's really pathetic. She's a final year student, and she's defining what the self concept is by Baumeister. But look, there's one of my biggest horrors, is she's got a direct quote and no paid number, so we need to be using paid numbers on direct quotes. But you can't just use it in isolation. She's used a direct quote and just left it. It's just used in isolation. Unpack what it means. Take keywords out of it. What does that quote mean? How does this relate to any brand? It's a really interesting concept, the extended self. Russell Belk in 1988. I'm going to explore it, but where is it? It needs unpacking. And then, folks, there's something around Gucci. It's all just a bit random, isn't it? And there's something about Gucci and something about connections. People have connections with brands. This idea, again, we're going to look at this paper, Chaplin and John. We make social connections with brands. There's a little bit about how they're important for our image. And then lastly, again, references. I'd rather have them on the slides if that's okay, folks. I'd rather have them on the slides. And there's just, other than the lecture material, the Jansen and Boyd book, there's just the Perloff article, the Southern Girl, and we're going to have a look at that, or we looked at that in the first week, sorry. Sheaf and Newman. There's some okay secondary sources, but she hasn't gone beyond the lecture material. She hasn't gone beyond the seminars. Overall, folks, it's very limited. And I suspect